Welcome to BK Nothing But Nets podcast. I am joined with my co-host, Dylan from Nets Press. We're going to get into his article on blueprinting the Nets offseason. We got a lot to get into this offseason. I wanted to, first introduce yourself, Dylan. Tell me about your article. I want to ask you a question real quick.
Yeah, feel free to head over to my Twitter. I did a full first round mock draft. This is my second official written out mock draft for the first round. It includes trades, a Kevin Durant trade as well. It was written a couple of days ago, so some things have changed since then. But overall, just a fun little mock up of what I could see the first round being. So if you guys want, feel free to check it out. It's the pinned post on my Twitter at NetsPressIG. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram at NetsPress. We're on the road to 21K over there. So appreciate everybody, and feel free to check it out. We're gonna deep dive into it today. A couple of the picks, a couple of the trades, and I know we got a nice little special guest here today as well. So we'll be getting into that shortly.
We always joke around and say the offseason is always about the Brooklyn Nets, but this offseason is gonna involve the Brooklyn Nets, right? It's like your ex that just hangs around. Like it's going to be there. The Nets are going to be involved because they're the only team with cap space. There's no other team with cap space. So the Nets are going to facilitate. They're going to be involved in
some major deals.
It's a major deals, and I want to get into that. But first, I want to ask you this question, which I know is going to trigger you because I already know your response. But I want the stupids out there to understand that Cam Johnson's not like Desmond Bane. So here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Does the Desmond Bane trade yesterday impact how much we can expect to get for Cam Johnson, and how does it affect, if at all, any prospects of trading Cam Johnson?
Does it impact the trade value of Johnson? Somewhat, but it's nowhere near the price tag of what Bane got. And just the people who are out there trying to say that Cam Johnson is at a similar level of play as Desmond Bane, it's pure delusion. Like the entire time, the price tag from Sean Marks for Cam Johnson has been 2 first-round picks and a player. That's not changing. I still think that is the value of Cam Johnson. I think that is ultimately something that Brooklyn is going to look into if they can't move up with Cam Johnson in the draft. But regardless, the price tag for him has still been 2 first and a player, or to move up into the draft. So I don't think that changes necessarily what his value is in terms of Sean Marks' eyes. I think it changes the value of maybe how much a team are now willing to give up for Cam Johnson, because we saw deals at the deadline where teams like San Antonio, Sacramento, these types of teams were offering a first and a player, but they weren't able to get that second first. I think this kind of solidifies what Marks is wanting. Now it just depends on who becomes available on the market, right? Once the KD domino falls, if Johnson isn't included in that deal, or if Brooklyn's not included in that deal, then you're now looking at Johnson as the best wing that we know of, at least on the market. So the price tag on him should be the same for Marks, with the 2 first and a player, or to move up into the draft with a salary filler. So I don't think it necessarily changes the price tag on Johnson, though.
I think it confirms. I think it shows us that Marks isn't bugging when he asks for 2 first-rounders. I don't think you're going to get that. So my inkling is that Cam Johnson is going to be on the Nets this year and probably next year, and that he's a Net for the foreseeable future. Because I don't think, unless it's involved in a trade for a star, which I don't think is going to happen, I don't think that Cam's going to get traded. I
just don't see a world where he should be kept. I was talking about this with somebody the other day. It's a disservice to not only the fans, but also to Cam Johnson. There's no point at the age of 29 being on a team that's considerably rebuilding, right? When you've risen your value this much on a rebuilding team, you're supposed to get dealt. You're supposed to maximize on the value of the player who's risen their value, and you're also supposed to give them a better situation to win now. You're just wasting his career. So even though I'm not a Cam Johnson guy, I personally don't like him just because of some of the things he said about fans. I just overall don't think that it's a good situation for him and for us as an organization. The pairing doesn't work. It doesn't make sense at this point in time. He's not a bad dude. He's a solid player in this league, but go put him in a better position and capitalize on what the value is of hhim. There's no need for him to stay around any longer.
I agree with you that he should be traded. That's not, there's no reason to have a 29-year-old making $25 million role player when he doesn't have He doesn't have anyone on the floor to space for. He doesn't have a role to play to anyone. There's no point in having him here. I agree with you. I just don't think that anyone's going to meet the demand that Marks has set. So I think he stays here. And I don't know what Marks' plan is for the Nets, but we're going to get to that. I want to bring in Connor Long from the Brooklyn Boys podcast. He's done some great things. He had 400 live viewers talking about our Brooklyn Nets on Twitter the other day, which I've never seen on any Nets podcast. So I want to bring in Boy Wonder, Connor Long, let him introduce himself and follow, subscribe to his channel if you have not already. Connor Long,
what's going on, Connor?
Boy Wonder, the Duke Hauser of New York Sports Talk. Introduce yourself and tell them where they can find you.
Well, Gary, thank you for having me. We haven't spoken about the Nets together on a formal Nets podcast in probably about 10 months now. So
it's last season, yeah.
Yeah. So super happy to be here with you, Dylan. I've been follow you on Instagram, follow you on Twitter. We've never spoken before, I don't think. So super happy to hop on with you. Appreciate you guys
nice to meet you, man.
having me. Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Yeah. So I host the Jets podcast. For those who don't know, NY Flight Jets Talk. I've been running that channel for about a year and a half now, and with my friend who I do a lot of work with on my Jets channel, I just recently launched the Nets channel with him called the Brooklyn Boys Show. Daily Nets content. We're kind of indulging first into the short form videos to start off, and then we're trying to sprinkle in a live show every week or so. Last weekend I had Lucas Kaplan of Nets Daily on.
Excellent interview, by the way, on that. Great job on that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Kaplan's great. So anytime I get an opportunity to chop it up with someone like him, it's an honor. We have Eric Slater coming on, Heat from Nets Fan. We got CJ Holmes on the book. So we got a lot of different reporters and content creators coming on. So you can find that, the Brooklyn Boys Show on YouTube. I think we've been going for like 2 weeks now. We got 140 subs. So keep subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you all. And anyways, appreciate you guys having me, and looking forward to talking Nets hoops with you guys.
Of course, man. Great work, dude. Keep it going.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, like the Nets pie is surprisingly big enough where everyone can have a slice. So we're happy to have you aboard. You're doing great things. You're doing great things for the Nets. And Connor has the misfortune of being just like me. He's a Nets, Jets, and Mets fan, so he's a loser year round.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Hell, just hell.
He's younger, so he hasn't seen all the suffering that I have, but he'll get there. Trust me, he'll get there.
It will happen. I've been here for only 23 years, so I'm half of the time as Gary, and it's just as much heartache. So
I'm not 46. I'm 41. Let's chill out.
You gotta round up sometimes, Cost $3.12 for gas. What are you paying? You're giving them $4 and you're taking the change. You're not handing out pennies.
We're rounding up to 40. Okay, all right. I feel like the old man here because I am. Like, both of these guys technically are young enough to be my children. This makes me feel old. Right?
Would you have me at 19?
Possible, right? Like,
it is possible.
Accidents do happen.
My grandmother was married with 2 kids by the time she was 19. So
wow,
different time, man.
Different country, different, yeah. But
there you
go. Connor Long. Your reaction to the Desmond Bane trade yesterday. Give me your initial reactions, and I want to move on to. I want your take on that and what it means for the Nets, if anything. Cam Johnson's value, anything, any implication it may have on the Nets, and then I want to get into the Nets offseason. Also, if I remember, you like Trey Johnson, correct?
Love Trey Johnson.
We may have to. We may have to.
We could definitely chop that up.
We may have to.
Yeah, you don't like Trey Johnson, right?
You know what it is? It's not that I don't like Trey Johnson. It's just when you're looking at the current construction of the team and how much Nets fans love Cam Thomas, I just don't see the fit, right? And if
I think they need a second shooter. Like, I think especially if you deal Cam Johnson, you need a second shooter. Like,
would you have Johnson play the 3, or are you moving Cam Thomas to the 1? Because either way, I don't know if that works.
No. I'm talking about if you deal Cam Johnson. Like, if you trade Cam Johnson and you get a couple picks, I don't think you have a second shooter on the floor. And I think if you pair Trey Johnson and Cam Thomas together, I think you have 2 of the best guards right away in the whole NBA. So I'm really, really big on building another shooter, adding another shooter next to Cam Thomas, because I want Cam Johnson traded. I don't want Cam Johnson to be on the 2025 Brooklyn Nets. It just doesn't make sense. And
it makes no sense.
And Gary, what I was saying to you last year is, like, I wanted to be winning games last year. I wasn't all in on losing every single game, but I wanted to be winning because of the young guys playing well. Yeah, we were aligned there. Like, I think the Nets did a great job of managing Dennis Schroeder. I think they did a great job facilitating that deal when his value was at its peak. 15, 20 games into the season, they make a deal. They get good draft capital in exchange for him. I think it's about winning with the young players and getting as many veterans who aren't going to be here in 3-4 years, hopefully when the Nets competing, off the roster and flipping that into draft capital. As for the Desmond Bane trade, I just think a complete embarrassment. And I think it makes Knicks fans so happy to realize, like, we're not the only team overpaying for an average role player. When it comes to Cam Johnson, I don't think it really affects the value. I think Sean Marks is still going to look, like you said, Dylan, and say 2 first-round picks and a role player, which I really don't think the Nets are going to get. I think what you get for Cam Johnson is maybe a first-round pick and someone who can come in and be somewhat of a role player. So I don't think it really alters what the Nets are going to look for in a Cam Johnson trade potentially.
It doesn't change the value of Cam Johnson. I think it confirms what Marks was asking. I just don't know if you're going to get that for him. Just off the top of your head, you guys give a worst trade, and I still say it's the Bridges trade. But what's more of an overpay? The Bridges trade last year or the Bane trade this year?
Bridges by far.
Bridges.
Far, right?
6 first-round picks.
It's epically bad. It's epically bad.
Well, because the thing is, too, is Bane's a solidified borderline all-star, right? If I'm not mistaken, did he make an all-star game as a sub one year, or did he just get snubbed of it? Regardless, points per game is better.
On efficient shooting.
Yeah, points per game is better. Efficiencies are better. And if you look at what Orlando's doing, they're building the Celtics blueprint of 2 high caliber, two-way guards in Jalen Suggs and Desmond Bane. It's likely now the best guard backcourt defensively in the league, now that Drew Holiday and Derek White are likely to be separated. And then you have your Paolo and Franz. That's your Jaylen Brown and your Tatum. Right now, they're missing their Porzingis. And if they are able to find a way to look into a guy like Miles Turner, I really think that Orlando could be the team to come out of the East next year. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. They have the 25th overall pick still, which I'm assuming they're going to use on a big or a shooter. So it'll be interesting to see who's available for them there. But I mean, I don't think that's an overpay whatsoever.
It doesn't make sense that the Knicks gave up that much capital for Mikal Bridges. And at the time of the trade, I didn't think that propelled them to be the number 1 team in the East. And clearly they were not the number 1 team in the East this year. That went to the Indiana Pacers. And I think if Jason Tatum was fully healthy for that full series against Boston, it's a completely different story. I think giving up that many picks for someone who's shown, yes, he's played every NBA game. He's an Iron Man. He's not an all-star, but he is a good role player. I don't think that's worth 6th-round picks. If the Nets got 3 first-round picks from Mikal Bridges, I would have been more than happy. I think what the Knicks gave up is just, and you can't prove one year into that deal that it was a good deal for New York. 1 year in, Brooklyn is the clear winner from that deal because guess what? The Knicks did not go to the NBA Finals, and I think that was the whole goal of making that trade. They thought Bridges was going to be the player who was going to put that team over the top and make them the best team in the Eastern Conference. That wasn't the case. I think the Nets are the clear winner of this deal, and I think it's by far a worse trade than Desmond Bane because the Desmond Bane one at least tries to make some sense, like you said, Dylan, on what Orlando's trying to build there and how they can be the best team in the East by making this trade.
Let me push back on that a little. I agree, but let me play devil's advocate real quick. That trade, the Bridges trade, they had a goal to be the best team in the East. You're right, but that meant beating Boston. They beat Boston. They just didn't expect that Indy was going to leapfrog everybody and win the NBA championship, which I called a month ago. I mean, in that sense, you beat Boston. In a way, for the Knicks, is it mission accomplished? I'll let both of you guys feel that.
No, because they didn't make it to the NBA Finals. Like the bottom line was making it to the championship. It wasn't about obviously Boston was the team thrown out there because that was the team that won the NBA Finals last year and came out in the East. But the overall goal were to make a Finals appearance and hopefully take home and win the NBA Finals. And that's why overall, like what I would have done if I were the Knicks is I would have kept Tom Thibodeau for one more season. Beefed up the roster, added more pieces with the limited cap room that you have.
And not in a position where they can. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't disagree with you, but like, what are they really adding? Unless they can somehow get the NBA to broker a Giannis trade like they did for the Lakers with Luka, unless they do something like that for Cat and Bridges, where are the Knicks?
We just need depth. Like, that's the bottom line. I don't think Tom Thibodeau's a great coach, in my opinion. I'm not a huge Tom Thibodeau fan, but I think I blame more of last year on the fact that the Knicks had a 7-man rotation and the Indiana Pacers had 10, 11 players who they trusted playing 15, 20 playoff minutes a night. You can't win an NBA championship when you have a 7-man rotation and you're trying everything, mixing and matching everything, that DeLone Wright is playing valuable minutes for you in an elimination game.
I didn't even know he was on the roster till the playoffs started. Like, he's a Knick. I didn't know he was a Knick. Like, wow. Okay.
My guy Landry Shamet, I was saying the whole season, Landry Shamet should be out there. He's a good 3-and-D guy. He's exactly what that team needs. Play scrappy defense. And it took Tom Thibodeau 14 playoff games to figure out what Landry Shamet could actually do on the basketball.
And Precious still wasn't getting off the bench. None of it made any sense. Like, they had some depth pieces they just didn't use. Like, you could say their depth was like, why don't you try using your depth like Shamet and Precious before you decide it's no good? Like, how about you put them on the court? And Precious played well. Like, not Precious. Shamet is a better defender, in my opinion, than Bridges because he can fight through screens. Bridges can't, right? Bridges was so exposed to me in that series. When you have an offense like that screen happy, it's like you could pick on Bridges. I don't want to dump on Bridges. Dylan, just before we move to your article and stuff, your overall thoughts on the Knicks and Thibodeau. Okay, we never really talked about it.
I said it. I've talked to multiple people about this, and even on Twitter. It doesn't make sense to remove a coach after such a deep playoff run with the success that he's had since coming to New York. Is he the greatest coach in the world? By all means, no. Does he have a lot of rotational issues in terms of how he utilizes his starters with minutes? For sure. But when you don't have a solidified coach set in place to replace him, and you're now in this position where you're making phone calls and getting absolutely destroyed by teams, not wanting to even take a call, that's a bad look for you. And if you're looking at how a team makes deep playoff pushes, it all comes with chemistry and continuity, right? And getting rid of the anchor of that coaching staff who had implemented a system that was working in New York, just throwing them away without a replacement, that's a really bad look, and it usually means that teams are on the verge of imploding. Now, I'm not saying that the Knicks are blowing it up this year, but if you look at previous teams that have done this with coaches, you have the Suns, you have the Lakers after they won the finals with Frank Vogel, you have the Nets with Kenny Atkinson, Jacques Vaughn, Kevin Ali. Like, these are all teams that have gotten rid of their coaches after solid, if not championship-winning seasons. Even if you look at Milwaukee with Budenholzer, right? These teams have not been the same since they've done those firings. So unless if they find a replacement coach that's really going to put them over the limit, then you're talking maybe a 1-2 year window with this Knicks team before they hit that same scenario that Brooklyn was in just a couple of years ago.
I'll add this in quickly. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, the whole core there that Knicks team was built upon were huge advocates for Tom Thibodeau. They all loved Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks make the wrong hire here. The Knicks bring in Dan Hurley, which I think would be an unmitigated disaster. I think that's the worst thing they could do, or insert any coach who maybe Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart don't gel with. Jalen Brunson could find himself requesting a trade during the 2027 season. And that's, I think, the worst case scenario for the Knicks. And Jalen Brunson requests a trade. The whole court is not happy with whoever that new coach is, and everything goes up in flames for New York. So I think that's the hard floor that you're really looking at by firing Thibodeau as well.
I just want to put this out there. I made a prediction that the Pacers were going to be NBA champions, which came to fruition. I'm going to make another prediction. You want to know who the Knicks' next head coach is going to be?
Oh.
Don't you dare say Steve Nash. Oh, I thought you were going to say Steve Nash. I was like, dude.
Steve Nash. Steve Nash is available. Knicks fans, you want Steve Nash? He's available. You call him.
Watching Steve Nash. And then my favorite was when Jacques Vaughn came in as the interim guy and provided a spark, and then the Nets thought he was the next. He was the next Phil Jackson, and then they gave him that crazy extension, and ultimately end up firing him midway through. It's just, oh my God. Nets can never get the good. And that's why you hope Jordy's the guy, and I think he is. So I'm done taking experiments on Kevin Ollie's and Jock Bombs.
All right, I wanna transition this to guys. Go over. I'm gonna put a link in the chat, but go over to Nets Press Substack. Join Dylan's. I'm losing my brain here. Join Dylan's Substack. He does great work there. But I want to get into this. So just Dylan, kind of run us through this. Start at the top and we'll go over it. But
I was gonna say this is an article from like over a week ago, so I'm not remembering. I'm not remembering it too much, but yeah, I mean, I've been saying now for a while that the Nets need to figure out a way to get 2 lottery picks. This is the draft to do it, right? This year and next year are 2 drafts that you really need to knock out of the park if you're willing to accelerate this rebuild. With the Nets not owning their 2027 first, it kind of puts them in a position where this year and next, you really need to strike big on your picks and figure out ways to start building a contending roster long term. And that starts with the draft. I've been saying that for a while now. People like to try and disvalue picks because of how young they are coming into the league. It does not matter. Every player at some point needs to get drafted. Every player at some point is young. You need to hit big on these picks, though. So with Brooklyn having 4 first-round picks this year, it's best to probably utilize some of those veterans and those later picks to try and move up. I'm looking at scenarios right now where with Toronto, with Houston, with San Antonio at 14, Atlanta at 13. There's numerous teams that have shown interest in Cam Johnson. So I think that there is a world where that does get done, but I do think the holdup is going to be the Kevin Durant saga. And when that happens, from what I've been told, KD is going to be traded before draft night. They're trying to get this done as soon as possible, but they're also trying to not get absolutely fleeced by these other teams who are lowballing them. So it's going to be a battle of, smoke screen after smoke screen, Shams versus Windhurst. It's going to be like this probably for the next week. But I do believe that a deal is going to get done before draft night. We are just 9 days away. Because Phoenix needs to also start figuring out what pick they're going to be acquiring to select another option in the first round. So I wanted to propose. Yeah, go right ahead.
No, God, I wanted you guys to take on this. To me, this is a trade that works for everyone. The Nets get my boy Keldon Johnson, Champagnie, and a lottery pick. The Suns get Vassell, Claxton, and a series of picks, and the Spurs get their guy. To me, this trade works for everybody. It seems realistic. It works in the trade machine. Dylan, break this down for us, and then Connor, give us your thoughts when he's done.
Yeah, I mean, this is a deal that I kind of mocked up myself just based on how the rumors were falling at the time. I still think San Antonio is the prime competitor for Kevin Durant, though that they've been rumored to not be showing as much interest as some may think. I was actually just talking to Spurs reporter earlier today, who we had earlier this month, Dusty Garza, and he even mentioned this is kind of a similar situation with KD as Sacramento was with De'Aaron Fox, right? San Antonio was not budging on their offers. They were not willing to change up. The Kings were not receiving better offers elsewhere, and he ended up getting dealt for a package that many NBA fans felt was a bit low. This is going to be very similar with Kevin Durant unless if a team steps up. Minnesota's in a very tough position being a second apron team as well as Phoenix being a second apron team. It's very difficult to make trades with one another. And Minnesota's trying to move on from one of either Gobert or Randall, and not many people want to take on those contracts and players. So I don't think Minnesota is a serious threat at this point in time. Houston is a team that definitely has some interest, but I don't see them giving away all of those Phoenix picks back for a 37-year-old when they can wait a year and likely go after a guy like Devin Booker, who fits the timeline a lot better. And, you also have a team like Miami who may just not have the assets to necessarily get this done. So to me, I think that this is a 2-man race between Toronto and San Antonio. I actually just mocked up a Toronto trade as well, literally 15 minutes ago. It's posted on Twitter and on Instagram now, if you guys want to go check that out. I can also run it down for you guys real quickly. If you'd like.
Let Connor respond to this, and I'm going to pull up the other trade. Connor, your thoughts? To me, this works for everybody. Oh, I was close to that.
Yeah, no problem. I got it on the top of my head. Yeah, so I completely agree with what you're saying there, Gary, and I think the Nets are going to be included in any KD trade because the Nets have so much cap space. I said it not too long ago, kind of correlating this with the Cam Thomas extension talks. Like, there's just I've never even heard this offseason Cam Thomas linked to another team because he's a restricted free agent. It's just already assume that he's going back to the Nets and all these different players, because the Nets have so much cap space in the NBA. They're single-handedly controlling this entire offseason. So I think it's great that they kind of help get in here and facilitate a 3-team deal for Kevin Durant. They get the first-round pick, which I think is going to play a big role. I think if you can come away with a guard and 2 forwards in the first round of this year's draft, that would be incredible, or vice versa. You get Julian Champagnie, who was a solid 2-way player in Washington last year. Really like the skill set that he kind of brings to the table as a 3. So Champagnie could be a bench guy who can be a rotational option and bring you some minutes. He's on the younger side as well, so I like that. And then Keldon Johnson is a more established veteran name in the NBA who kind of brings you that role player depth, but you're not giving up too much to bring them in. I think this is a perfect deal for the Nets. They get a first-round pick, and they get 2 role players who could play significant minutes for this team.
I don't know if you were aware of this, but Keldon Johnson is the homie. I don't know if you do that, Connor. That
okay, how tall is he, Gary?
Well, I think he says he's 6'6".
He's not
He's
6'6".
like
I
6'4"
think the
and a
evidence
half.
suggests he's 6'4". Yeah.
Okay, how
I'm
tall are you,
5'11".
Gary?
I'm not particularly tall. I'm
the same height as you, Gary. So
and you're 14. So yeah, you'll be Dylan's size in no time. Does he
how
look
tall are you, Dylan?
I'm like 6'2", 6'3".
You're probably
Closer
the
on
same
6'3"
size as
side.
Keldon Johnson.
I would think he
6'4".
has me by about an inch. I think he would have me by an inch.
He's not 6'6". I can tell you that right now,
No.
Gary.
He's
I'm
not
like
6'6",
6'2" 3/4" without shoes. So I'm like 6'3" and a half with shoes.
Yeah, so you're 6'4" in NBA standards.
I'm 6'5" in NBA standards. You got to bump it up an inch and a half. On my high school team, I was listed at 6'4" when I was 6'2". So whatever a player is, it's usually 2 inches higher on the depth chart.
Interesting, and I love the Grinches, Gary.
If women can lie about their weight, their dress size, their bra size, everything else, you can lie about your height, Dylan. It's no big deal, right?
Listen, my license says 6'3". My girl refused to believe it until I took her to a doctor's appointment literally a couple of days ago. And she was like, measure yourself. And I was like, all right. And it said 6'3". And I was like, motherfucker, what now? You can't say shit. License is true. And she's like, but that's with shoes on. And I'm like, well, how many times?
You play babasketball with your shoes on.
I was going to say, you play basketball with your shoes on. You walk around a mall with your shoes on. You go to a doctor's appointment with your shoes on. I'm 6'3".
Exactly.
Just live with it. Why would you not want me to be 6'3"? That's your flex, you know? Women love tall guys,
my boyfriend is 6'3". Every chick wants
exactly.
that.
Yeah. So now I get to put
my
that
wife
over her.
lies and says I'm 6 foot when I'm clearly 5'11". It's, it's only an inch. I'm 6 foot probably with shoes
I swear to God, 5'11" and 6 foot is a battle like no other. Like that
it's
is
only a thing in the U.S. You know why it's not a battle in the U.K.? Because they use the
soccer's
metric
primary
system.
sport where
There
you
is
can
no
be
6 foot.
5'5".
There is no 6 foot because it's only a battle in the U.S. We'll get into that another time, right?
Yeah.
But there's no 6 foot rule. There's no 6-figure 6 foot rule in the UK because they don't use feet. They use meters.
Yeah.
All right. Am I bucking here, Dylan? I'm not seeing your.
No, you had the Keldon Johnson picture still. Scroll down a bit. It's going to be right after the pin post. Unless if I responded to somebody. There.
Okay. I was looking at the pin post. Okay, can I open this
Quickly? Oh, wow, interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I literally just made this a couple of minutes ago. There's been numerous reports that Toronto is open to moving RJ Barrett and the 9th overall pick. I just read something today that they don't want to completely move off of the 9th pick without getting a first-round pick, and they mentioned in that article swapping the 9th pick with the 29th pick via Phoenix. So why not give them a pick 3 picks ahead? Brooklyn gives up the 26th pick to Toronto. Nick Claxton heads over to Phoenix along with the 19th overall pick. Brooklyn receives the 9th pick in exchange for taking on 2 extremely bad contracts that are long-term as well in Grayson Allen and Emmanuel Quickley. Katie ends up landing in Toronto, and Nick Claxton and RJ Barrett move on to Phoenix. So pretty much Toronto's flipping the Knicks deal that they got for RJ and Quickley to receive Kevin Durant. They already have Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. It's a really good foundation to put Durant in, along with some young pieces like Ochai Agbaji, Grady Dick. There's a few pieces over there that are very, very solid. So in this scenario, Toronto would still have the 26th pick and the 39th overall pick. So they'd still be able to add 2 depth pieces via the draft. And they're giving up minimal draft compensation as well in terms of future draft capital. I believe I have it on there as top 8 protected for that 2029 pick. If I'm not mistaken, it's a bit blurry. But regardless, a protection on the latest first-round pick that they give up, along with one unprotected first, and Brooklyn gives up the 19th overall pick, plus Claxton to move up. I think that this is more than fair
Oh yeah.
for all sides, especially with how bad the contract of Quickly is. It's definitely not something that Brooklyn's going to be able to move off of immediately. But Grayson Allen is a very solid piece to take back in return on a very team-friendly long-term contract that could likely be flipped at the deadline.
It could be like a Cam Johnson replacement.
Yeah, exactly. And realistically, I mean, I may have some bias with Grayson Allen because I'm a Duke guy, but Allen's a very solid player in this league. Nothing special, nothing horrible though. But he definitely isn't as impactful as a guy like Cam Johnson. And adding him as a rotational piece, as a veteran presence, I don't think it's a bad deal whatsoever. So I don't know who says no in this scenario. I think it's fair for all sides, especially with how the reports have come out recently. And Brooklyn has been linked to the 9th overall pick with Toronto based on reports from Brian Lewis and Michael Scotto. So, I think that this is a deal that works for everybody. Oh, Gary's muted. There it is. What's the over-under on this for this episode? 2.5?
I'm always taking the over. You know I'm always taking the over.
I'm going to take the under on this one. That's the first. So we'll see if you get 2 more.
I'll let Connor respond in a minute. Look, this is still a doable trade to me. I'd much rather the other one. I don't love this trade. If push came to shove, I'm making this trade because it gets me the 9th pick in the draft, right? But I don't love Quickly. I think the contract. I'm keeping Cam Thomas. Now I have a backcourt of. I don't love this trade. I'd prefer the other trade. If I had to make it, if this was the only deal available to me, I would make it. I don't love the trade because I don't love bringing in Quickly's contract. He's got years and years left on that. It's an overpay. I already have bad contracts in Cam Johnson. Claxton would be going out. I already have a bad contract in Cam Johnson. I'm going to I would imagine try to move Quickly, but I don't even – does Quickly fit in our plans long term? I just at that contract.
You can. I'm not looking at players' contracts right now, Gary, because the Nets have so much cap space. They control the entire NBA, especially if you ship out an $100 million contract with Nick Claxton going to the Phoenix Suns. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to bring in someone who I think still has upside in Emmanuel Quickly, who can be a guard, who can help shoot for you and facilitate, I think, a solid 1-2 combo with Cam Thomas. I really like that. And Dylan, I have a question for you. So you have Nick Claxton going to Phoenix, and you have the Nets getting the 9th overall pick, so they'd be picking back-to-back 8 and 9. In that scenario, would you have them taking Common Malawach with one of those back-to-back picks?
It really depends on what Philly does, because there's...
If they go ace.
Yeah, because, well, that's the thing. I still think New Orleans and Philly now is the deal that gets done. I do think Herb Jones in the 7th pick for the 3rd pick and Andre Drummond is something that gets done. And if that's the case, Philly's going to be picking at 7 with one of either Trey Johnson or Kaman Malawach, right? I don't think that they go Knepel at 7. So to me, it's a 2-man race between Johnson and Malawach. If Malawach's on the board for that 8 and 9 slot, yes, I would 100% take him. But if he is not available, I would be looking at guys like, one of either Jeremiah Fears and Asenge or, potentially Knepel and Asenge. I don't hate the idea of Knepel if you're getting a young upside guy in Asenge or Carter Bryant. So it really just depends. I still personally believe Jeremiah Fears falls to 8 simply based on the fact that if it's only a 2-man race between him. And I think it's one of either Washington or Brooklyn that takes him at 6 or 8. And I think Washington's going to prioritize a guy like Malawach much more than a guy like Fears, especially with Jordan Poole still on the roster. So they also have Bub Carrington, who can play the 1 and the 2.
Yep.
I just don't see them taking Fears over a guy like Malawach or Trey Johnson if they're on the board. So regardless, if New Orleans moves up to 3, let's just say in that scenario, Washington takes Trey Johnson at 6 and 76ers take Malawach at 7. I think without a doubt Fears would be available at 8. So my whole thing would be,
who did you have going at 6? You had Malawach going at 6?
Malawach going at 6 to Washington. Trey Johnson going 6 to Washington, Malawach going 7 to Philly, or vice versa.
But then who's going 5 then? Who's going 5?
I think 5 you're looking at potentially Con Knepel with Utah. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
I've heard this too. No, you're right. I've heard this too.
Yeah.
I
think that they look at. I think they look at Knepel or they look at Trey Johnson. Again, it's one or the other. But again, regardless, I mean, they could take Trey Johnson at 5. That leaves Malawach at 6 to Washington, and then who does Philly take? They're not taking Jeremiah Fears, right? You're probably in the realm of a Derek Queen, a Con Kneppel, a Noah Senge. It's one of those guys you'd have to assume. So
Do you think Queen could fall to 19? I've been
I
hung
don't
up on
think
that.
Queen can fall to 19. I think the furthest he falls is 13.
Would you trade up? So would you trade up for Queen if he's there at 15, for example? I'm a huge Derek Queen fan.
It depends on what the board looks like, right? If Sorber is going to be available later on and you can move up for him, I prioritize Sorber's upside more than I do Queen, just based on the ability of playing both ends of the floor at a high caliber. With Queen's defensive issues, I don't know if it's as worthy to move up for a guy like him when you can go for an upside swing in Carter Bryant, Noah Senge, Yegor Demon. I think that realistically, it really depends on what you're getting back in return as well. If you're looking at these 3-team deals when you're moving up, right? If you're getting quickly in Grayson Allen, you don't necessarily have to go with a guard high. You can always go with a high upside swing in Nolan Traore later on, or a Jace Richardson. It really doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, you're probably picking best available if you're Brooklyn. And to me, if you're in a position where Derek Queen's on the board, but Carter Bryant's also on the board, or Yegor Demon's also on the board, I think Brooklyn would prioritize one of those later two rather than Queen.
I really like a Senge. Like I've been looking at a Senge, someone who's 18 years old. It's like you draft him, the floor is gonna be so high. Like the chance that you miss on a player like a Senge is so low. Rather than you go for a guy like Malawak who, yes, I think can come in and be your starting center if you do elect to trade Nick Claxton, but you still are taking somewhat of a calculated risk there. I think Senge has a really, really high ceiling, given his height at 6'8", 6'9", whatever he is, and then him being able to come in and his age and what he's been able to show playing overseas. The floor is so high. The chance of missing on a guy like a Senge, especially in the modern day NFL, is the chances that you miss on him are so NBA, excuse me, the chances are just so low.
Dylan, this is one for you. Chris, our favorite listener, thoughts about Hugo Gonzalez?
I'm not a fan of Hugo whatsoever. But before I even get into depth with that, I was going to say, even if Fears is off the board when you get 8 and 9, right? Maluak and Senge at 8 and 9 is a slam dunk. Like that is a World Series sweep.
Yeah.
That is beautiful because you're now in a position where you can move up for a guy like Nolan Traore as well. So.
Right there.
And if you can get your center in the second round and like the guy Hansen Yang, the Chinese center, like even if you get him at 35, I'm okay with that. Like he can be an okay depth piece for you. I think the biggest thing is to get a second guy to lock up with Cam Thomas in the backcourt and then aim to add a forward like Derek Queen. Those are my two main goals.
How I view this draft is you need a starting point guard and center of the future, and then I think you go 2 wings, right? I don't necessarily think, like, let's just say you get Maluak and Senge at 8 and 9, right? You're now looking at Nolan Traore almost as a must because he's probably the only guy with upside mid to late in the first round, right? If you can land him, let's just say you trade up with a team maybe like Minnesota who maybe needs more draft capital. You land him at 17, Nolan Traore, and you're maybe looking at Rasheer Fleming later on. And if not, and if you only have your second round pick left, you could be looking at guys like, like you said, Hansen Yang, if you want to double up on center. I don't know if it's necessarily the best route to take just because you're likely to bring back Day'Ron Sharpe if you move off of Nick Claxton. I don't feel like clogging the big man spot is necessarily a good idea when you have 2 young centers who are going to be battling it out for a starting spot. So it really just depends on how the trades work out. If it's Johnson that's moved, if it's Claxton that's moved, if both are moved, it really, really depends on what goes on there. But I've been saying it all along. Point guard, center. Let me ask
Dylan a question, and then if we take that at 8 and 9, if we got Maluak and Senge, I don't mind that. I think there's tremendous upside in that. But with the Nets, I mean, to me, the downside, the floor on both those guys aren't as low as people may suggest, right? But those are 2 guys who are viewed in the draft world as risky picks, as swings with high ceilings and low floors. Would the Nets have the stomach to draft 2 guys that young who are viewed as risky picks back to back? Like if they miss on 8 and 9, you've crippled your franchise. Go ahead, Dylan, and then Connor too.
Can you repeat the question?
Both those guys, Maluak and Senge, that's how we're saying that, right? Are viewed as high ceiling, low floor kind of guys. would the Nets be willing to take that kind of risk on guys who are viewed as kind of developmental risky plays at both 8 and 9?
No, I don't think so. I think that Asenge has a pretty average to high floor. It's Maluak's floor and ceiling that's definitely a bit concerning, just like Ace Bailey, because they're both project players. But I think realistically, Brooklyn needs to take best available with the highest upsides. And at the end of the day, when you have very minimal talent on the roster, you have to go out and try and take those risks. So again, if Fears is off the board at 8 and you are able to land 9, Asenge and Maluak are by far my picks there at 8 and 9. I wouldn't even question that. I think that those are two incredible pieces.
Let's say I want both you guys. Let's say you got Asenge. I mean, you got Maluak at 8, and at 9 you have Knepel and Asenge are both still there. Who would you take?
Asenge.
I personally would take Asenge. If you're Sean Marks, you're probably taking Knepel. Let's just be honest with ourselves. He's going to already take a high upside swing, and Knepel's somebody that he has been doing some things at night, you know what I mean, to try and get him. So I think that if it's his decision, it's probably Knepel. If it's my decision, I'm taking Maluak and Asenge for sure.
Absolutely. I say if you can get like your big man there in Maluak, and then I actually think Asenge has a relatively high floor just based on what he's shown given his age. I think the chances of you missing on him are pretty slim, but I think what Sean Marks is going to look at and what he's going to do is going to look at all the Nets first round picks, depending how many they have. They can have, they can have 1 first round pick come draft day. They can have 6 first round picks come draft day. We never know what Sean Marks is cooking up. But I think he's going to look for someone to take a flyer on, which could be Maluak in this scenario. But then he also wants to get someone who's as surefire of a hit as possible. And I think you get that with the Asenge, and that's what I really like. One thing I will add about Hansen Yang is I really, really want one of this team's centers to be over 7 foot. That's something I've really liked. I want a 7-foot center. And I think using the 35th overall pick on Hansen Yang brings you that. Is he a guy who can come in and contribute in summer league and maybe see what you have in the preseason? Sure. But I think he's a guy you can look for. Maybe if you don't go Maluak in the first round and you trade Nick Claxton.
Speaking of Claxton, the Lakers are going to make a push for him. This was just reported, I think, today. Would you, if the Lakers called you up and offered you, I think Rui and Gabe Vincent and a future lottery, a future pick, a future first, is what I'm trying to say. Do you make that trade, or do you try to hold Claxton for a super trade like we discussed here? If the Lakers called you up right now and offered you Rui, Gabe Vincent, and their 2030, I think it's 2030 pick, the 2031, would you make that trade now, or do you hold on to Nick Claxton for a bigger trade?
Unless you get 2 first-round picks and a solid role player, I'm not trading Nick Claxton, hands down. Like I think what Nick Claxton showed last year was inexcusable. It was not good basketball by any measure, and the fact that you gave him a 4-year, $100 million contract just really exemplifies how bad of a GM Sean Marks is. But I'm still going to ride it out because Nick Claxton has the ceiling of being a defensive player of the year. We've seen that Nick Claxton before. I'm in the boat of unless you get 2 first-round picks and a role player in exchange for Nick Claxton, I'm keeping him and I'm holding him until the trade deadline, and then I reevaluate my stance on Claxton come trade deadline time midway through this season.
Here's my concern about that, and I want to get to Dylan's take on. If you hold him, his value has already declined from where it was a year ago. A lot. If you hold on to him till the trading deadline, to me, that's a sinking ship. I just want to get rid of him now. I don't think he's going to go back to Nick Claxton from a couple of years ago. I think it's what we saw last year or worse. That's why I just want to dump him now. I don't care. Someone will. So you
don't think he still has that defensive play in him where he can get you, a double-double a night?
I don't. Like, do I think that he can consistently? He's not a great rebounder.
Are you okay with Day'Ron Sharpe being your starting center?
Yes.
This season.
Yes. He's going to split time with whoever we draft, but yes. I would rather Day'Ron Sharpe than Nick Claxton.
What I would want to see next year at center is I would kind of want to see a tandem. I like Day'Ron Sharpe. I just think Nick Claxton's a better player than Day'Ron Sharpe is.
I think the problem is that Claxton's plateaued in terms of upside. We're not seeing progression in the offensive game. The percentages have actually fallen over the past 2 years. And the blaming of point guard play is really something that I don't agree with, because it's not like he's been playing with, a guy that I would play at the park with, on a random Thursday afternoon. He's played with Dennis Schroeder, he's played with D'Angelo Russell, he's played with Kyrie, he's played with Harden. These are all guys that can play make at a high caliber in this league and have showcased it throughout their entire careers. So I think the excuse of Claxton's offensive game being limited because of point guard play is just pathetic. At this point, he can't space the floor. He can't hit a free throw efficiently. Defensively, he gets bodied by people. I mean, you're talking Jalen Duren, Joel Embiid, guys even like Bismack Biyombo last season, he got absolutely butchered by. At this point in his career, he's not reliable as a full-time starting five on a team that does not have a dual threat big man ready for him. It doesn't really work out, and Sharp isn't a guy that you can put alongside Claxton. Clowney is very similar to Claxton, except he can space the floor. So having both of them being skinny and frail out there does nothing for you defensively.
So what do you want them to do? So would you be okay with would you be okay with a Clowney Sharp tandem next season as the 4 and the 5?
I think it's a better fit in terms of having a dual threat big man out.
I like Clowney. I like Clowney, but he needs to shoot. He needs to shoot the 3 consistently. That's the biggest thing.
Well, the problem is when you're taking high volume threes, you're going to shoot less efficient. Look at guys like Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum's efficiencies over the past couple of years. Yeah. They keep dipping because they keep taking more threes. Notice how the game that Tatum tore his Achilles, right? The previous games he looked like shit. He was horrible efficiency and he was checking up threes. But in that game where he had that 40+ and tore his Achilles, he was starting to find his spots in the mid-range game, shooting more efficiently. That's how guys need to play basketball. It's really not difficult. I don't care what any analytics team tells you. Threes do not win you games. You are going to live or die by the 3. And most of the time you're dying by the 3. I'm sorry. It's pure stupidity how some of these analytics. It's even the same thing with baseball and analytic departments. Oh, if you hit home runs, you win games. Well, the Yankees, as a Yankee fan, fucking suck when they have to try and just hit home runs or they lose games. It's horrible. I just witnessed 2 games against Boston where they scored fucking 1 point combined. They suck. If you're not hitting home runs and Judge looks like he's already in the midst of October baseball, you're not going to win fucking games. I hate to break it to you. So it's the same shit with fucking basketball. Stop taking threes at a high volume clip when you're going to shoot 2 for fucking 9 and take a mid-range. It's not hard. You know how to hit it. So same thing with Clowney. They need to start developing his inside game. Sorry for the bit of a tangent, but Clowney's floor spacing and versatility as a defender because of his size is much better alongside Day'Ron Sharpe, who is an incredible high upside rebounder in this league, who is also showing signs of floor spacing, and he's much more efficient than Claxton is from the free throw line. I think the fit is much better between the two of them, and I think there's a bit more upside with Sharpe's game currently than Claxton's is now.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Dylan, I mean not Dylan. Connor, I know you gotta. Do you have a couple minutes, or you gotta run?
I'm good until like 1:55 ish. So I got like 5-6 minutes.
Okay. I wanted to address comment. Clowney got the synergy tape of a lunatic who escaped prison. I like Clowney. And look, I think you have to consider the Nets offense. I think this comment is shot selection is wild for Clowney. Because a lot of his shot selection was like Pete Klay Thompson. Like he just get the ball and shoot a 3.
Shoot,
yeah. But that's the Nets offense. The comment's funny because it's true. And the Nets used him like he was prime Klay Thompson. And he's not.
The problem is that basketball every 8 years decides to take a different shift in how much shittier they can play the game, right? Over the past 10 years, it was small ball. Notice how 9 times out of 10, a team with a small ball rotation played incredible in the regular season and then got absolutely fisted in the playoffs. Keyword, Brooklyn Nets throughout their entire tenure with KD and Kyrie. You know, like it doesn't work. Small ball doesn't work. Chucking up threes doesn't work. You know, it works for a little bit. And in those key games where you need it to hit and they don't, you look like an idiot, right?
Yep.
So just go back to playing basketball. It's truly not hard. Find your own shots. Create space.
It's wild to me how many
incredibly difficult, Dylan. That's why back in the day, I was watching the Nets versus the Pistons from 2004. The games were played in this. There are 2 defensive teams that grinded, right? The games were in the 70s. It is extremely hard to play basketball.
Like people shit on SGA for these free throw attempts, but I just saw a stat the other day that showed Jordan's final run one year, and he was averaging like 22 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He was shooting like 23% from the field, and he was averaging 12 free throws a game. I'm sorry, but the whole free throw thing, guys do it. LeBron's done it, MJ's done it, Kobe's done it. Some of their best years in the finals and the runs that they've had, 9 times out of 10, they've had a high free throw percentage shots taken in those finals runs. So the whole, crying about SGA and foul baiting. The difference is that he plays the game at his own pace. He's the best mid-range shooter currently in the league, and he also has been just a key player in OKC since the moment he's gotten there. I don't understand the hate for him and why people are complaining about the whole free throws things when he plays the game very ethically in terms of how he creates his own shots, finds his mid-range spots. It's everything about his game is very similar to some of the greats. So go back to playing that way. I'd rather fucking watch that than guys taking 40-footers 9 times a game, shooting 1 of 9.
Keon Johnson.
Yeah. Keon Johnson and Noah Clowney, shooting.
Keon Johnson, Gary, you need to, Josh, my co-host on the Brooklyn Boys show, who's in the chat right now, he thinks Keon Johnson should be a part of the 2025 Brooklyn Nets.
I think he's going to be. I would agree with him that he's going.
He's still
to.
left.
I don't see why. Like, what does he offer? He can grind defensively. Okay, he can guard wings. He can guard the ball handler. He's. What does he offer you? Like, as an NBA player, why is he on my roster? That's all I'm asking. Like, what
Jordy just trusts him as a veteran to be a spark plug. That's all it is.
And it's funny too because
that's
he's only,
the way
23, 24. He's my age. It's not even like he's an actual true vet.
I didn't realize how young Trendon Watford was.
Yeah,
I didn't realize Trendon Watford was
still young.
Watford's like 24, I believe.
Yeah.
Watching the way I think kind of Watford's able to command the offense, and I just think be a natural leader on this team. You think he's 27, 28 years old. Keep forgetting that Trendon Watford's that young. But again, I don't want Keon Johnson and Trendon Watford taking away minutes from a guy like Zaire Williams, who showed you so many great flashes last year, showed you why he was truly a lottery draft selection just a few years ago. The Nets have so many pending free agents this offseason. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see who they look to retain. I think Tyrese Martin is going to be one of the top guys on that list who I think they have faith in, who can come in and shoot the 3 for you on the wing and give you somewhat of a spark defensively and give you a plus rating night in and night out. So
I don't understand this love affair that fans have with Tyrese Martin either. He's not good. At least he can shoot the open 3 at times. Like, he has a function in the NBA. But his flaws, to me, would outweigh his strengths. Like, I don't understand the Nets love affair. Like, I've seen this not just with you. They killed Keon Johnson, but Tyrese Martin gets a pass. It's like Tyrese Martin's not good either. He's not an NBA player either, in my opinion. Like, we're gonna bring in a bunch of
Tyrese Martin was at least like he provided somewhat of a spark last year.
Between Martin and Keon Johnson, I'm keeping Martin. Granted.
Yes. Any day.
Either one of them as an NBA player. Like, Tyrese Martin as a rotational defender is terrible. He handled the ball at the point. It was not good, right? Like, why, like, in a league that's this hard to be a part of, why does Tyrese Martin have a job in this league? Because of his open shooting.
I mean, you could say that about a lot of players on the Nets.
And some of them, a lot of them are going to go, right? Like, I don't think, like, Keon Johnson, I don't think he's in the NBA next year on a regular
Tosin Iwoma, number 1 priority, re-sign him. He might be one of the worst basketball players I've ever seen touch the floor of an NBA court. He is so bad. Tosin Iwoma.
He's better. I'd give him a roster spot before I'd give Keon Johnson a roster spot.
I don't. Dylan,
I need to see Gary and Keon in a ring. Because the vendetta against Keon Johnson with Gary is so fucking funny. Like, dude, just swing. Just go at each other at this point.
Why do you? I'm not defending Tosin here. He's a body. He's physical. Like, I don't want, like, if Tosin is playing for you 20 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game, you're in a lot of trouble. But
I don't think he plays that much on most G League teams, if I were to be completely honest.
No, he couldn't average 20 a game in the G League. He couldn't average 20 a game for most AAU teams.
I don't understand why Killian Hayes was sent back down to Long Island after created so much of a spark from this. I'd take Killian Hayes over Tyrese Martin. I would take
Killian Hayes over about 10 out of the 15 guys on the fucking roster last year.
Absolutely. I'd take him over Trendon Watford. I'd take him over pretty much any rotational one or two.
Him over D'Lo.
What'd you say?
I would have taken him over D'Lo. I would have made Killian the starting point guard for the end of the
season. Okay,
100%.
Pure
Why not? He's young.
Player-wise,
he's got upside. Why
Pure
not?
play, like if you
Okay,
just
it's
look
just
at the player
okay. It's just because of his age. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
in terms of second half of the season, you want to lose, you
I
suck,
don't.
you're
Fine,
garbage,
yeah, okay.
you
If
have
that's
no
your
way
He's a
of
argument,
top
making it
5
to
pick
playoffs.
for a
or-
reason.
I
He's still
thought
in
you
his
were
Yeah.
early
saying
to
that
mid
he's
20s.
better than D'Angelo Russell.
No,
But
he's not a
I see.
better basketball player than
All right,
D'Angelo.
I'm
Does
with
he
you.
have the upside currently to be better than current day D'Lo? Yes, if he's utilized and developed, but they didn't even give him a shot. So it's like, what was the point?
Yeah.
It's like
They gave
they
Tyson Etienne more of a shot than they did
yeah, that's what
Killian
I'm
Hayes.
saying. It's like they edged us with Killian Hayes as like a
Yeah,
cool
I didn't
young
see it. Like,
signing that
I
we all
agree
thought
with
was
you. They
gonna
should have.
blow up. And he
Drew
They should've
Timme
kept him on-
getting that many opportunities before Killian Hayes as well. It's just frustrating last year.
yeah.
We talked about this leap. We talked about this trade. Suns received Claxton, Sochan, and 19. Oh wait, we didn't talk about this pick. Hang on.
Vessel, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes.
Let's get. Wait, is this? Hang on. Is that? I saw a trade similar to this. Give me your thoughts on this trade, real quick, Dylan. The Nets would Suns receive CJ, Clax, and Sochan, and the 19th pick. The Spurs get KD, Clowney, and the 8th pick. The Nets get Devin Vassell, Barnes, Keldon Johnson, and the 2nd pick. Anything that brings in the 2nd pick.
I don't like trading both your bigs though. Like I like getting the 2nd pick, obviously, to secure a Dylan Harper. I don't like the fact that you give away 2 bigs in this deal.
I just don't see why you're including players in a deal for 2. You could simply overpay with picks. You have the picks to do it. And you can still utilize those vets to move up in the draft. There's just no reason. I would probably give up 8. I'd probably give up our 2026 first if it's top 10 protected. And then I would give up 2 additional unprotected firsts of their choice. I don't care if it's the Knicks picks. I don't care. But to move up to 2, you would want them to have. They would probably utilize future draft capital rather than players right now, because they'd still have the Hawks swap.
Yeah, they have so many first round picks.
They would have at that point they're the team to get Giannis, because they wanted him this year. He's not available. They're going to want him again next year. Why not go add more valuable draft capital to where if you even made a deal for him, you still have a shit ton left over, similar to OKC. So I don't see them wanting to take on players plus picks for 2. It would just be picks for picks.
To be fair, I mean, Dylan Harper is a franchise-changing player. You got a ton of cap space. You got your pick next year.
Yep.
To me, if you can get someone, if you're not looking to win now, and you can get someone that changes the direction of your franchise, which Dylan Harper does, just do it. Like, you're going to – when he's an all-star and he's making all-NBA team and he's contending every year and he's made some team really good.
You go BPA.
Why didn't we get him?
Yep.
You know
You go
what I mean?
BPA.
If you can get Dylan Harper, get Dylan Harper. I mean, within reason. To me, like, what are you giving up here?
The most I would do is number 8 and 4 future firsts. Whether some of them are swaps, some of them have protection, some of them are unprotected. I don't give a shit.
I wouldn't hate that. You have to go. This is why I hate when Nets fans look at all these mock drafts and mock trades and talk about, oh, I wanted a forward here and instead of a guard. Oh, I like Derek Queen at 19, but I would have much rather preferred a guard at 19. It's like the biggest thing I think when you try to go into a rebuild in the NBA and follow the blueprint of the teams that have done it successfully, you go best player available. That's the biggest thing. You got to get the best basketball players possible into your organization, no matter the position. I think that's the bottom line for the Brooklyn Nets of this draft. Whether they trade up, whether they stay at 8, whether they trade back, no matter what they do, I think it's BPA.
See, the only thing that I'll disagree with that is I still firmly believe there's a difference between BPA, fit, and then also best player available at a current position of need, right? Brooklyn needs 3 major positions. They need a starting point guard, they need a starting center, and they need a high upside wing. So to me, those are 3 positions that you need to draft. I don't care if, at 8, your best player available is Fears. At 19, your best available player is Demon. And at 26, your best available player is Traore. I'm not drafting 3 guards. You know what I mean? So for me, it's more so best available player per position need. And let's just say it's Fears and Maluak available at 8. Give me Fears. If you are able to trade up to 9 and it's between Maluak and Asenge, go with whichever one you feel is the best player available. It's probably Maluak, right? Say at 19, if you don't trade up to 9 and the best player available is one of either Will Riley or Nolan Traore, but you drafted Fears at 8, Give me Will Riley. Like there's
I get
routes
that.
to it.
I'm talking about
that
with like
I'm
the first pick. I'm talking about with
yeah,
their first round.
with the
pick.
first pick by far, you take best player available, right? And I've
Yeah.
already kind of stated what I think is the current best players available at that, right? I'm going Fears if he's available. If he's not available, I'm going Maluak, and if he's not available, I'm going Asenge. And if he's not available, I'm going Carter Bryant. So that's kind of the order of how I'm looking at it.
Devin Vassell, like this trade to me, like just hear me out. Right now, you're starting Harper, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Clowney, and then you still got next year's pick to get your center right.
Yeah,
Like,
but the
you've
problem
got-
is the only problem that I have with this deal is you're giving up a valuable young piece. You're giving up your two largest veteran trade assets in terms of what you could get back in return for them or move up with. And you're also giving up your two best picks in this year's draft to move up 6 spots. I'm not doing
But
that.
it's okay. Like let's say at 8, let's say Fears is off the board. At 8, your best pick is Asenge or Con Kneppel. Those guys aren't changing your franchise. Harper is, so just change your franchise.
Harper's immediately changing your franchise.
Right,
That
so
doesn't
just do it.
necessarily mean that guys like Fears and Asenge or Maluak can't at some point change your franchise within a year or two.
No, I'm saying
The problem that I
Fears is
have
gone.
is that the problem that I have with this is you're taking on a 4-year horrible contract in Vassell. You're taking on a guy who doesn't even want to play in New York City in Keldon Johnson. You're giving up your two most
He'll be
valuable
fine. I'll
picks.
come visit him. I'll come visit him.
You're giving up your two most valuable picks at 8 and 19, and you're also giving up your two most valuable trade assets in Johnson and Claxton. Why do that when you can simply overpay with picks? You trade 8, you trade future draft capital, and you go out and get 2, right? Even if you want to throw Cam Johnson into that and we take back Keldon, sure, do that. But that at least gives you 19 Claxton and other future draft assets to where you can make an attempt to move up to 9, right? The Toronto deal that I proposed was Claxton going to Phoenix and Brooklyn getting 9. You still have that option available if you move up to 2 without giving up Claxton 19 and whatever, go out and just overpay with picks if you're going to move up to 2. It's truly not difficult.
Whatever, like ideally, yes. If that can't be done, if this is the only trade that all teams are willing to accept, I make this trade.
Yeah,
like
Bell's
giving
contract
up
is horrible.
Clowney
It's
or
4 years,
Claxton
27
is
million
not a
a year.
big deal. I like Clowney. Giving up Clowney, it's not a big deal with me. Giving up Claxton is a dream come true.
You're giving up 3 players and 2 drafted players for 1 drafted player. So you're pretty much giving up 5 players on your roster for next season for 1 player. That's not something.
That's the dicey thing, like the strength in numbers.
I agree
Right, and
with
that's
Nate
the
here.
thing too. Is look at OKC, right? They started off their rebuild with SGA. Okay, we don't have our SGA, but they also the following year were able to draft Chet and Jalen Williams in the lottery. Yes, I prefer 2 lottery picks more than I do trading all of our high-level assets outside of the 2026 first for number 2. If you can do it just by
Keldon Johnson are still young, and like Nate says, they're NBA players.
If you can do number 8, Cam Johnson, and 2 or 3 future firsts to move up to 2, I would do that because that still gives you Claxton, 19, and others to try and move up into the top 13 again.
Gary Dillon, appreciate you guys. I got to bounce.
All right,
Have a good one, Connor. It was good meeting you,
give us
Appreciate
a commercial real quick for your channel. Tell us what.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys could sub to us. Josh and I. Josh is in the chat. The Brooklyn Boys Show. The Brooklyn Boys on YouTube. Appreciate you all. Appreciate all you Net fans. Looking forward to a fun season. Gary Dillon, we'll talk definitely. We'll love to have both you guys on our show. So
Sure.
Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. And as always, go Nets.
Have a good one, man. It was good meeting you.
For real.
Keep
Peace
doing your
out.
thing.
Thank you.
Connor. Like Nate said, and I agree, Keldon and Vassell are legit NBA players. They both averaged around 20 in the NBA. Like those are real players. I know it was for a bad team. I granted, I got it, but like they're real NBA players that you can plug and play. Like honestly, who would you rather have, Vassell or Cam Thomas? Because you're about to give Cam Thomas that contract.
You said Keldon or Vassell?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Devin Vassell or Cam Thomas?
I'd rather Cam Thomas. Cheaper deal. He's going to be getting 20 to 22 million on a multi-year deal.
Vassell's making 25.
Vassell's making 27 million for the next 4 years, and he's mid. That's like paying Cam Johnson 30 million. No, I don't want Vassell. Yes, Alex. RJ Barrett's contract is better. It's the same price, but for only 2 years left on the deal. And to top it off, he's a better player than Vassell. So yes, that contract is much better than Vassell's. Vassell is so incredibly overrated at this point in his career. He had a very solid season 2-3 years ago. He got his contract and he's been pretty mediocre since. No, I'm not paying a dude long-term $27 million if I'm not able to keep some of my picks. I'm not giving up my two most valuable, like Cam Johnson and Claxton alone. If you were to trade them outside of this draft just for future draft capital, you're looking at 3 or 4 future first-round picks, right? At 8 and 19, you're looking at 2 very high upside players. You're willing to trade away pretty much 6 total first-round picks for number 2 when you can simply just do that by giving up future draft capital and still having these guys as assets to later on move off of. The only deal that I'll do that includes a player for the second pick is Cam Johnson, the 8th pick, and either 3 or 4 future first-round picks for number 2. And then I'm keeping Claxton, I'm keeping 19, and I'm looking for a package to move up into the top 12 with those guys. That's the only way I'm doing it, all while keeping your 2026 first. It's the only way that I'll do it. So no, personally, I'm not taking on the Vassell contract. The only contract that I'm even willing to take on, and is a trade that I literally just posted, was the Emmanuel Quickley contract. Yes, it's worse than Vassell's, but if you're able to get the 9th pick out of that just by moving 19, 26, and Claxton, yes, I'm doing that because you're still keeping Cam Johnson in that deal to where you can deal him for future draft capital. So it's all about power and numbers and playing it smart. I'm not giving up the world for one pick and then drafting 2 guys at 26 and 27. That's not how you want to do it.
We're gonna just like, this is not ideal to me, but if this was the only trade that could be made, I'm saying yes to this trade. You're saying no?
I'm saying no. I was saying it before. The only deal that I will do, including a player, is Cam Johnson, the 8th pick, and 3 future firsts for 2. They can pick.
What if they want Cam Thomas in the sign-in trade? You're not going to give up Cam Thomas?
Take Cam Thomas. I don't care.
Okay, so I'm saying you're willing to trade players. That's my point.
No, I'm saying I'm not willing to trade multiple players. I'm not giving up Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas. I'm not giving up Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton. I'm not giving up Nick Claxton and Cam Thomas plus those picks. You can get 1 player, you can get 3 future firsts, and you can take 8. And if you don't want that, then guess what? Enjoy taking Harper, where you are going to now have 3 ball-dominant point guards on your roster, and one of them is going to be playing the small forward next year. Do you? Because it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. So
I'll be fair, Nate. Nate, I'm calling you Nate because you guys.
Nate, Pete, fuck it. Whatever my name is today, it is.
Pete, Nate, Dylan. I like the way you negotiate, right? Like San Antonio taking Dylan Harper makes 0 sense when you have Fox at 0.
Go put 6'5" Stephon Castle at the 3. Good luck. I don't care.
What is he gonna do? Right? Yeah, he's a point guard. They got 3 point guards.
Yeah. He's gonna do fucking nothing. So go ahead, take the pick. Because it's not gonna work for you. What are you gonna do? You're gonna ruin the development of one of either Castle or Harper by benching them? Okay, go ahead. One of them's gonna get upset and not want to be with you. It does not hurt us. They do not have the opportunity to say what their price tag is because they don't need the player. Now, if this was for Ace Bailey or Cooper Flagg, of course they could, because they could use one of those guys to play the wing, right? They have Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, and Jeremy Sochan. Both of those players are upgrades over those players, right? So with the position that they're in, with the position of need that many teams need in the point guard slot, they don't need a point guard. They don't need a shooting guard. So go ahead, take the pick. And if not, come talk. It's not hard. Cam Johnson, 8 and 3 future firsts. That's my offer.
I want to address this. Resident Hawks fan, Alan, says, spoke to Gary last night about a deal. I read Atlanta trades Okonkwo, Man, 13 and 22, and a future 1 to New Orleans for Trey and the 7th pick. If I'm Atlanta, I jump at this. You're getting a Trey and the 7th pick.
That's if Maluak's on the board at 7. And that's to say that New Orleans doesn't want Maluak.
My question is, why would New Orleans make that trade? Like for Okonkwo? Because they need a big? I mean, I'd rather just draft Maluak.
It's not a horrible deal, but Atlanta probably has to throw in a future first.
Are you saying they throw in a future first? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a horrible deal, but again, you have to make sure that Maluak's on the board at 7 before you even make that deal. So I don't know if that's something that's done prior, because I don't know if Maluak's on the board at 7, or you wait until the pick is in at 7, say New Orleans takes Maluak, and then you make the trade, you know?
If you make that trade, if you're Atlanta, you're looking at this. You're looking at Ice Trey at your point, Dyson at your 2, Murphy at your 3 in this situation, and then Jalen Johnson as your 4. Now you just need to solve the center issue.
Yeah.
That's you're drafting Maluak. You're hoping that's your center of the future. I would jump at that trade from Atlanta. I just don't know why Is Trey Murphy really available for trade? He had a career. He's on a great contract. Why would he be available?
It sounds like it. I mean, at this point, it's more so just capitalizing on the value, right? I personally wouldn't get rid of Trey Murphy at all. I think he's the best player on that team currently, and I'm saying that over Zion. Yes, I'm saying it over Zion. He's available. He's versatile, and he can defend. He can space the floor. He does more than Zion does, 1,000%. He's also a very
he's on the best. He's on the best non-rookie contract in the league. 4 years, 112 million.
1,000%.
I can't think off the top of my head. I can't think of a better non-rookie deal than that.
100%.
Why would you trade? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Does he not fit in? I mean,
he 100% fits in. I think he's a perfect complement.
I'm saying on New Orleans. Why would New Orleans?
That's what I'm saying. I think he's a perfect complementary piece to Zion. He takes away the deficiencies of Zion's game. Zion's fat. He can't space the floor, and he's a minimal defender because of his size. Trey Murphy is lengthy, versatile, athletic, can defend, and can space the floor. That's a perfect duo. Why they would look to move that, I don't understand. Herb Jones makes a ton of sense. And moving Herb Jones and attaching the 7th pick to move up to 3 makes a ton of sense. But again, I don't see why you would take Ace Bailey if you already have Trey Murphy and Zion. That's the only thing that I'm a bit iffy about. So to me, I don't know. Like for Philly, it's a great deal because Philly can move back for a guy like Trey Johnson, Knepel, or Maluak. But for New Orleans, I don't understand why they would take Ace at 3. If I'm them, I'm more so taking VJ probably. I think VJ's a perfect fit next to those guys.
Nate's saying Trey is more of a versatile piece for an NBA team to fit like a glove in offense or defense. He's not better at basketball than Zion. I think what
he's
Dylan is saying
at the game of basketball than Zion. If you take the skill sets and you were to rate them 1 through 10, let's just say that, right? Zion has better scoring overall. Yes. Trey Murphy is a more floor spacing, better 3-point shooting player. Yes. Trey Murphy can create his own shot better. He has better ball handling ability. He has better playmaking. You could probably say is in favor of Zion. Rebounding ability, you could probably say is very similar to one another because Zion can be fat and lazy at times and not try and rebound. Defensively, Trey Murphy is a much better player, whether it's the perimeter or down low. He's better in both aspects. So overall, I would take Trey Murphy as a player to build around over.
Hang on. Okay, that's still different than he's a better basketball player, right? Like, so here's my point. So if we're playing 5s, it's me, you, Nate, and Connor Long, and we need a 5th, and that 5th is either Zion or Trey Murphy. Who are you taking to be our 5th?
What's Zion's weight before he starts playing?
not great. It is whatever it is.
Did he bang a hooker prior to coming?
Probably. And
did he have a Mountain Dew and a bag of Doritos as lunch before playing? I'm taking Trey Murphy.
Okay, I think that's wild. I would Zion. I think Zion's one of the most unstoppable forces, and I agree with everything you said about Trey Murphy. It's not Murphy that we disagree on. It's. Well, you guys know how I feel about Zion.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, my thing is of being available does make if a player is better or not. And Trey Murphy,
he's not available. If that's why you're passing on him, then I can't argue with that. If you're
the only thing that Zion does better than him is points per game.
But it's like Nate said, he demands a double team in the best league in the world. Trey Murphy does not demand a double team. Zion changes the way you play basketball. Trey Murphy complements the way
down
you play
low.
basketball.
Yeah, they're not double teaming him at the fucking 3.
If he gets if Zion gets the ball in the paint, it's 2 points. There's no stopping him. Once he gets the ball in the paint, it's already too late.
But if you keep him out of the paint, or if you keep him off of the floor by giving him a hooker, Doritos, Mountain Dew, and potential STDs, then yeah, you're probably going to be fine.
The only one stopping Zion is Zion. We agree with
100%.
that. We agree with that.
When you're talking about a better overall player, I'm taking Trey Murphy. Just based on the versatility, the athleticism, the shot creation, the 3-point scoring, and the availability. I think those 5 factor in way more than Zion's dominance down low.
The other trade I wanted to ask you, Alan mentioned to me yesterday for Cam Johnson, because I've heard Cam Johnson to the Hawks trade too. Was just
Shams just said, I'm told Kevin Durant has no desire to be in Minnesota with the Timberwolves.
He's not going to Minnesota.
No.
He's not going to Minnesota.
It doesn't make sense. They have no picks. That to trade away, they have horrible contracts, and they're a second apron team. A second apron team trading with a second apron team makes no sense whatsoever. I've been saying that.
Zion with 2 Twinkies in his mouth, orange Doritos on his finger, and Mountain Dew all over his fat.
You have not watched Trey Murphy then if you're saying that Zion's more athletic.
Zion is a freak of nature. Like
Trey Murphy is a lengthy 6'8" guy that can literally put his chin above the rim.
I don't think anyone is disagreeing with you on Trey Murphy. Like no one who watched him is disagreeing with you. I think Trey Murphy could be an all-star player in this league.
100%.
Zion, what was that?
I said 100%. He certainly can be. And if he gets dealt to a team where he's actually going to be utilized as a first or second option, 100% I think he could be.
There's no one on my team I wouldn't give up for Trey Murphy. If they called me up and said, there's no one on our roster. You can have my whole roster.
You can have Cam Thomas you can have Cam Thomas, the 19th pick, and 2 future firsts.
And they would, and New Orleans would still say no to you. But I don't have anything that they would want. But whatever you have, you can pick all the bones with my team. You can have all of it.
Yeah.
But the trade that Alan asked me about was Cam Johnson. For what pick do they have? 22. Right? Is that what Atlanta has? What does Atlanta have? No, they have 14.
Atlanta has 13 and 22.
13. Cam Johnson for 13 in a bubble. Would you make that trade?
Repeat it?
Cam Johnson for the 13th pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah, 100%.
I would make that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we were on board with that. And at 13,
it's Cam Johnson and probably 19 for Terrence Mann, Georges Niang, 13.
We talked about that. Yeah.
It's a 6-spot move up. You're getting a solid young piece in Mann. It's also a tradable contract, and Neon's an expiring contract. So realistically, you're freeing up $8 million from that. I don't mind that at all.
I want to get it because Maluak. He asked about Maluak, and Nate is saying at his worst he's Capella. Isn't he more Blake Lively? How would you describe his game?
Blake Lively.
No.
Blake Lively.
Derek.
What's next? Ryan Reynolds is the head coach.
He's a country singer. Yeah, that's what he is. Derek.
Wait, is that even who Ryan Reynolds is with? Is it Blake Lively?
Derek Lively. I'm sorry. Derek.
Now I'm going blank.
Derek Lively. Is he not Derek Lively?
No, Maluak to me is Mark Williams and Miles Turner. And if he can't develop that 3 in the NBA at an efficient rate, he's Clint Capella. I would agree with that.
We're going to do that. From now on, Maluak is simply
Blake Lively.
Blake Lively.
Yep, there we go.
2.0. That's what we're doing. Cam and 27 for 13. I don't fully understand.
I mean, if you want to straight up make that deal, by all means, I'll fucking take it. You're telling me I get to keep 19 and have 3 top 20 picks? Sign me up. I'm pretty sure I put something out there like that not too long ago, and he was giving me shit for it. I was saying like Cam Johnson and 26 for Mann and 13. But hey, if you want to make that deal now, for sure.
Zion will ask for, and Derek Lively, not in that offense, but Derek Lively, also known as Blake Lively, he can shoot the 3. Do we disagree on that?
Who?
Derek, aka Blake Lively, can shoot the 3.
He can't shoot the 3.
He can shoot it as well as Day'Ron Sharpe can shoot it probably better. He can hit 3s. I'm not saying he's going to stand there like Karl Anthony Towns or Joel Embiid, but he can hit the 3 ball. You can't let him shoot 3s.
No. I mean, Lively, I'm pretty sure, has he even made a 3 in the NBA yet?
He can shoot. Derek Lively can shoot the basketball.
Can he? I feel like I've never seen that dude play a game of basketball in my life because he's always out.
He is always out.
3. No, his 3-point percentage last season was 0%. He played 36 games.
He shot 3s in college. Am I wrong? Derek Lively
in his 91 games played in the NBA, he has shot 0% from 3.
He's never hit a 3.
No.
All right, I'm bugging then. he shot 3s in college, did he not?
He was at Duke, probably not.
All right, then I'm bugging. I could have. Okay, then I'm bugging then. Derek Lively's never hit a 3-pointer in his life.
Not in the NBA. I don't even know about college. That was during like the COVID years, so I wasn't watching much college basketball then. Nets also didn't have picks, so there's really no need for me.
He didn't. He hit a handful. All right, I'm bugging. I don't know why I had Derek Lively shooting threes, not consistently, but like Day'Ron Sharpe, like he can hit them.
Yeah.
All right, I'm bugging.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Hey, as of right now, though, the under on muted Gary talking sprees is looking good at 2.5.
We're looking
Don't
good.
mute up.
Mitchell Robinson can also shoot threes. All right.
Yeah, I've seen that video
I take
too.
it back. I'm bugging. Yeah. Did Claxton shoot threes in college?
He did.
What happened to him? All right, I'm wrong, man. I stand corrected.
He got drafted by Sean Marks.
All right, I'm bugging. I don't know why I had him as a.
Gary's triple fact checking himself right now just to make sure.
No, I am.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, hopefully they just figure this shit out. We're 9 days away. I still haven't got my tickets. I don't know if I'm going. We'll
You're
see.
going.
I'm
going.
I'm hoping Katie just gets fucking traded already, so we can see if the Nets move up or not, and then even if they don't get if they move up or not, because I don't feel like going unless if we have 2 lottery picks.
Why am I bugging on Lively? All right, whatever. All right. There was one more thing I wanted to get into. The Nets are still. There was a report. The Nets are still looking to move to 2. Is that realistic? Is it realistic that the Nets could end up with 2, or is this just off-season talk?
Repeat that?
The Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the article. It says that they're still making a push for the number 2 pick, which we just discussed. Is that realistic? Like, is there any world in which we end up with the number? Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I don't see how that would even make sense. But can we still live in this world where Dylan Harper ends up a Brooklyn Net? You don't see any realistic avenue to us getting that pick,
I see a realistic avenue. It just depends on if San Antonio can come to terms with the idea that Dylan Harper next to Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox for multiple seasons does not make sense. If they can come to terms with that and aren't stupid, then yes, 100% the Nets could get involved in this. We have a better package than New Orleans. We have more draft capital than New Orleans. We have the 8th pick. We can offer that. We have Cam Johnson. Unless if you're offering up Trey Murphy, the 7th pick, and all of the Bucks' future picks, which is like 2 or 3 of them, I think New Orleans has, maybe that's a package the Nets can't beat. But if you're talking Cam Johnson, the 8th pick, and 3 future first-round picks of their choice, one of which has a protection, the rest are unprotected, yeah, I don't see why the Spurs would not want to do that. That is free reins into getting Giannis Antetokounmpo next year. It makes way more sense than drafting Dylan Harper and either playing one of him or Castle off the bench or having Castle play the 3. It makes 0 sense whatsoever.
Alex Torres confirms that I was correct. It was Lively's pre-draft workout where he drained all the. I know I've seen him shooting threes. I know I've seen it. Let's see. Is this it right here? I don't know. Here we go. See, he can shoot threes. It's in an empty gym with no one on the court. He can drain threes. I knew I had seen it somewhere. I saw him draining threes. All right. All right. I guess that's. You got anything else you want to touch on of this offseason?
No, I mean, we're 9 days away. The things should start heating up at this point, right? We already saw Bane get traded. There's a ton of rumors flying around about KD. What's today? Monday? I would assume KD's traded by Friday. So, I think that it's going to get really hectic over the next 9 days.
Nick Claxton at the free throw line. Someone's got to hit a free throw to save the world. The Martians got missiles pointed at us. They're going to take down the world unless we hit a free throw. You got 3 choices: Nick Claxton, Josh Boone, or Mitchell Robinson. Claxton, Boone, Robinson. Who's shooting the free throw? Claxton, right? Do you remember? Are you old enough to remember Josh Boone?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It
was brutal. Watching him at the free throw line was brutal.
Yeah.
All right. You got time for a mock draft tomorrow?
Tomorrow, possibly not. I would say let's wait to do our last final mock draft until 1 or 2 days before the draft. So this way we can give a better idea of what the trades are and who exactly is moving where, and I would say let's wait on a mock draft, because I'm gonna work on my final one for my last article of the draft process. 3.0 will be the final one written on Substack, so I'm hoping to have that out either the night before draft night, if not 2 nights before draft night. So I'll be working on that throughout the week as well. So let's see. Draft night is what, Wednesday?
It's Wednesday. It's a week. Yeah, it's a week from Wednesday. Is that
Let's
right?
shoot for the mock draft on Monday next week.
All right, so we gotta come back. I'm gonna be traveling Thursday. My schedule's gonna be all messed up because I'm gonna be in New York and New Jersey Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday. Can you do a show either one of those days?
Yeah. Well, Wednesday's draft night. Oh, wait, you're talking this week?
No, it's a week from Wednesday. I'm saying the next 2 days.
Okay.
I'm gonna be in New York and New Jersey that entire week from Thursday to Thursday.
Gotcha.
Can you do a show either tomorrow or Wednesday?
Yeah, let's shoot for tomorrow.
Let's shoot for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll figure. On topics to be discussed, we'll probably mostly discuss Derek Lively's ability to shoot threes. We'll mostly discuss that. I got the footage. I got the evidence. He can shoot threes in an empty gym with no one contesting him. I think I could hit threes.
Mitchell Robinson also has the prime handles of Kyrie Irving in an open gym with the 3-point spacing ability of Steph Curry when the cameras are off. But hey.
And every offseason we get Ben Simmons shooting threes too in an empty gym.
Yep, Ben Simmons looking prime athletic and shooting threes like never before, year after year.
All right, today was not my best performance, but thankfully I got carried by Dylan and Connor Long briefly. The Izod Center, the good old days. See, I wasn't realizing, like, I'm wearing this Marbury jersey. Neither you nor Connor Long were even alive when Stephon Marbury played for the Nets. That's how old you guys make me. I feel like it was yesterday.
Why do you think I say double the age?
You make me,
yeah, it's a different time.
At least I still got my hair though, and that's better than most guys my age.
Most
guys my age at least have a receding hairline, if not, the Colts logo in the back, like where
the McDonald's M for the hairline. Yeah, it's rough.
I got a full head of hair, and my dad is 71, I think, and he still has a full head of hair like me. He has most single hair, so this ain't going no place.
Don't lie.
The jeans don't lie. Got good hair. And I'll have the tomorrow. Can we do tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, that works.
All right. Can we do around 4?
That should work.
All right. Tomorrow around 4, I'm gonna have my hair braided too. So I'll have the cornrows back. Have you ever seen the cornrows?
I have not. No, I have not witnessed them on a podcast.
You will. I will. Unless you, the lady that does my hair used to also do Emmanuel Moutier's hair.
Okay.
I will have the cornrows tomorrow. All right. Anything else you want to close us out with?
No, I mean, I did just see a Shams report that says Memphis does not want to trade Ja Morant or Jaren Jackson and wants to build around them. So that's nice.
But what are they doing? Like,
they probably just maximize the value, so this way when a star becomes available, they're in a position to try and get one. That's what I would think.
At the trade deadline, do you think Ja Morant is on the Memphis Grizzlies?
It's tough. I'll have to figure that out depending on the draft, the offseason moves, and how they look in the first 2 months of the season. That'll probably determine it for me. But as of right now, if I had to guess, yes.
How about Jaren Jackson?
Yeah, I think he gets the extension this offseason.
And then why did they trade Bane then? He's still young.
It's probably just to make the money work with Jackson's contract extension, plus being able to have the draft capital to land another star down the road. Yeah, it makes sense, but it also doesn't. We'll see how they play it out. It only makes sense if they make it work, right? But at the end of the day, Orlando, as of right now, incredible trade for them. I have them as a top 3 seed now in the East going into next season.
I am going I'm going to be at the draft. I'm going to be at the draft, Alan. I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be at the draft, and Dylan's going to be there, and Lou's going to be there, and everyone's going to be there. And Alan, you're flying in New York, and you're going to be there. I'm losing my brain. All right, what do you want to talk about tomorrow? What do we got?
We'll
tomorrow?
figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right, we'll figure it out. All right, y'all. June 16th, 2025. I'm gonna go watch Derek Lively drain some more threes in an open gym. in an empty gym. From Texas to the world, thank y'all, and God bless.
Later.